new releases. Yep, that's new fragrances that's coming out to the market. Now, I will say some of them I may have not put my hands on yet, but some of them, on the other hand, may be fragrances that are released newly. I've smelled, they're in my collection or not, and I'm just putting them out here for all of you to see. And guys, I'm so excited about it. I'm gonna run it, I think, until the end of April, because there's so many new releases that I've kind of seen pop on and off of the market. Some of them I have been waiting for since the top of March, end of February, and I've recently found out that they won't even launch until May. But I'm still gonna come to you. I'm still gonna share those fragrances with you guys, because we have a lot of great things to look forward to. So without further ado, we're gonna get into our first episode of What's New Wednesdays. And guys, in case you didn't know, we are traveling into the house of Tom Ford. Yes, Mr. Ford has a new release that's coming out on April 5th. And I think you should know about it. If that sounds like a plan for you, then you should definitely continue watching. So guys, before I jump in, I have to say that I've noticed some new friends have joined onto the channel, and I want to say welcome. How are you? I'm glad to have you here. My name is Tanya Felice, and on this channel we chat about all things fragrance, beauty, love, life, and whatever I add into the conversation. It all goes in. So I'm glad you're here. And for my subscribers, hello, good people. How is your week going so far? It's my birthday week, guys. Yes, Saturday, March 27th is my birthday. Aries in the house, okay? So, guys, let's go ahead and jump into this new fragrance release by Mr. Tom Ford, and it is Soleil Brûlant. So, how did we even, we just had a new release, Tuberose New. I'm trying to re-up from that one. Or not, maybe you just, went to pick it up or not. But guys, yes, it's a new fragrance release. And the way I found out about Soleil Brûlant is when I was inquiring about Tuberose New. I was talking to one of the Tom Ford reps, and she was just sharing like, this is the new fragrance that's coming out, Tuberose New. It's Tuberose Ford, and sharing some notes with me. And then she was like, but if that one isn't what you're looking for, in March, there's going to be another release. And in my mind, I'm thinking, in March? Okay, we got something coming for my birthday. So I had been looking for the fragrance, because oftentimes you look for the fragrance on the release date, like in your department stores, and sometimes they're not there yet. But if you go to the Tom Ford store, I can always find them on the release date at the store. So what I've noticed this time with Soleil Brûlant, I was able to talk to some of the reps at the other stores and just kind of get an idea, like, in my mind, what am I expecting? Because when they said it was from the Soleil line, the private collection, Soleil Blanc, Soleil Neige, and then it's Soleil Brûlant. So I'm thinking, okay, I love Soleil Neige. It's like a signature for me, okay? And Soleil Blanc, I'm just like, and then of course it's Soleil Brûlant, in which we will definitely dive into today. So I was kind of excited, because I was like, okay, let's see what this is gonna be like. And so I started to ask around about the notes. At first, no one knew anything about the notes. And then finally, I noticed the fragrance start to surface. So anytime I hear about a new fragrance and I want to know if it's some validity to it, I'll go into a specific site and it'll pop up that this specific name has been taken. And then I know, ooh, this is a fragrance that's about to be a hot commodity. It's about to be on the market. So that's kind of what happened with Soleil Brûlant. So enough about that little background history and what I found out about the fragrance and how we even connected. But let's talk a little bit about this fragrance. So what we all want to know is, when does it hit the market? It hits the market. The release date is April 5th. So it's slated for April 5th. Like I always say, if you want a fragrance and you don't want to wait on your local department stores, then go ahead, go to your local Tom Ford store, pre-order it or set an appointment for that specific day so you know that you can go in, smell the fragrance, experience the fragrance, and kind of determine whether or not it's for you or not. You know, maybe you feel like you're going to walk in and pick it up and leave, and you'll determine the rest later, however you want to do. That's what my advice is, because that's what I always like to do. So what I've noticed about Soleil Brûlant, I've started to see the fragrance already in the department stores. So the first time I saw it, one of the reps had a very, very small decant. She allowed me to experience the fragrance. I wore it around for a few days, got a feel for it. And then here this week, I went into one of the larger department stores, one of my favorite department stores, and they had it on the counter just kind of for customers to kind of go ahead and start experiencing. So let me give you a little bit about this fragrance. It's once again from that private blend collection, Soleil Brûlant. So Brûlant is heat, okay? Soleil means sun, so we're bringing the heat all the way around with this fragrance, okay? It comes in two sizes. It comes in the 50 mil and the 250 mil. 50 mil runs for $350, and the 250 mil runs for $895. Let me go ahead and stop you right there. For me, if I were to pick up this fragrance, I could stop at the 250 mil because, no, I'm sorry, the 50 mil. Because this is one that you need probably 2 to 3 sprays, and then you can put a pause on it. That's just my advice. Now, if you want to go ahead and put on 30 sprays, honey, spray yourself all up. Just keep your distance from me because I don't want a headache, okay? But this is one that you don't have to overspray because you are going to smell yourself and people are going to smell you, okay? So it is in a beautiful gold bottle with Soleil Brûlant, of course, written in gold with the white encasing around it. So it's very, very pretty. As you can see, I have added a picture for your review as well. Guys, so let's talk about some of the notes in this fragrance. So you have pink peppercorn, you have black honey, we have cafe arabica, and then we have some amber in it. Now, there are some other notes that are out there on Fragrantica. I did not include them in this video because I'm going directly off the notes that the Tom Ford reps told me about. 2 of my favorite Tom Ford reps. And what I think they did was they told me the notes that were stand up and that were prominent, because those are some of the notes that you really began to smell for part of the time. And then there's some notes that I'm like, ooh, something is, kind of missing here. So those are our notes. In terms of whether it smells anything like any other Soleil Blanc, Soleil Neige, is it anywhere? Okay, so let me say this. You know how you have a group of twins and they're not identical at all? Or better yet, you have siblings and you're like, I can see the resemblance. But it's not those siblings that you say, oh my God, it looked like y'all spit each other out. Not that type of thing. You can tell that they're from the same vein in the opening of Soleil Brûlant. So Tanya, what do you mean by that? When Soleil Brûlant opens up, it's very much so white, florally, a little bit of sweet that kind of presents itself in the opening. Kind of like Soleil Blanc does in the opening, right? I know Soleil Blanc has white and yellow florals, but this one opens up white floral, okay? That floral stays there for every bit of like 8 to 9 minutes. Once you pass that mark and you go down to the mid, okay? This is where I was a little bit perplexed, okay? So when we get down to the mid, I immediately felt like I put on a bottle of some sort of incense, maybe frankincense, maybe myrrh. Some type of incensey vibe took shape. It was incensey, it was earthy, a little bit spicy, just a tad bit woody. But the spices and the like earthy aromas, I say more so of essential oils because it reminded me of frankincense and myrrh, started to take form, okay? It literally picks up and makes a strong presence. I will say that this fragrance stays like this for at least 3 hours, right? So I'm thinking to myself, yesterday I sat down and I timed it. I watched myself, I watched the clock, I went for brunch, I went went around, did some shopping, and I sat and paid close attention to how the fragrance began to morph and transform in classic Tom Ford fashion, okay? So I thought to myself, okay, the sweetness that I was loving is gone. Now it's the earthiness and the woodiness that's taking shape, and I'm thinking to myself, is this for me? And then maybe about the time I got home yesterday, it perhaps was about 6 p.m., and I began to smell the Soleil Blanc DNA, that kind of sweet white floral, began to spring again and match with the Oriental vibe. So it's like more so of an Oriental, earthy, woody vibe that's taking shape in the fragrance. Now, when I first smelled this, was this one that I said, ooh, I love it, I'm gonna give it a try? Was this one that I felt like, it's different, but I'm gonna kind of stick with it and see what it does? Yeah, I kind of felt like that. Tanya, have you smelled anything like this? I absolutely have, but I'm going to tell you why I say I've smelled something like this. So I was talking to the rep over at Byredo. They have a new release, Mixed Emotions. When I smelled that fragrance, I thought to myself, you're giving me sweet vibes, in which that fragrance has honey in it too. But then, guys, it turns into something very earthy, very incensey. Something happens within that fragrance. So I'm thinking to myself, when I smell the Soleil Brûlant, I'm like, you guys smell like you guys should be in the same vein, because of that incensey, earthy vibe that begins to take shape. Okay. Then I went to speak to someone at Clive Christian, my favorite rep. He said, Tanya, we got another one coming out in May. Let me go to the car. Let me get it. I want you to smell it. When he brought it in, same thing. Sweet fragrance, very much so earthy type of vibe happening here. So this is what's happening in this fragrance. So Tanya, unisex, female, male, what do you get here? So we know that these fragrances, they are always deemed to be very much so unisex. But I'm going to say, for me, when I think of the Soleil line, I get more of a feminine feel. And if I had to put them in order in terms of which one I felt was more feminine and then which one brings me to more male out of the three, I would definitely say that I would go with first Soleil Blanc, Soleil Neige, and then Soleil Brûlant would be the one that is more unisex, but I still feel like it leans more feminine, okay? So when would you wear this fragrance? Put me in a season. This one right here, guys, is going to be year round, okay? This is one that I will wear year round. It's going to definitely be good for the colder months. It's definitely going to be good for fall. I'm going to even say when it's cool outside in spring, I may find myself wearing this. In summer, it may be a bit too cloying for me. I might not want to wear that. I want to wear this fragrance when the wind is picking up and blowing. It makes me think of like Aladdin, genie in a bottle type feel. Like if you're in like one of the, maybe a market, okay? A market somewhere in Dubai, a market somewhere in the Middle East. And you know how the incense are floating in the air and the different aromas. This is where this fragrance takes me to, okay? So it would definitely be something that I would want to wear year round. This is a fragrance that puts me in the mind of culture for some reason. And when I say culture, I feel like if Soleil Brûlant was to put me on a plane and we land somewhere, it would be in the middle of, I would even go to the extent of saying Egypt, in the middle of the pyramids, okay? Maybe a hike in Bali, okay? Maybe in the middle of the rainforest with trees, like somewhere very cultural, rich type of environment. I think about my Tom Ford rep, and she is from Eritrea, and she always has these beautiful headpieces on. Her eye makeup is so beautifully done, but it has kind of like a Cleopatra type vibe. This is the type of vibe this fragrance gives off. Like if I was a Disney princess, I would probably be Princess Jasmine at the age of, between the ages of 30 and 40. Like this is the type of feel that this fragrance gives off. If I was to say, Tanya, so 2 of them just came out. I have not been able to purchase either. Which one should I start with? And I don't know, guys. I'm kind of thinking, because I'm biased. The tuberose new is, it gives me a headache because of the tuberose. It's kind of a bit too heavy for me. But the Soleil Brûlant, the incense, it kind of knocks me off. And it may be knocking me off because I was expecting something a little bit more spring, summer forward. I don't want to smell like frankincense in the middle of spring, nor do I want to smell like frankincense in the summertime. Now, do I use my frankincense oil? Yes, I absolutely do. But I don't want to, that's not something that I want to smell on me. When I got on my pretty dress, I got on my nice sandals. And this fragrance is so tricky, guys. It's so tricky because in the beginning, it's so beautiful. It's this white floral, and then it just starts to do something different. And you like, please stop playing with me. Like, what we gonna do? Are we gonna be Genie in a bottle, or are we gonna be a flower princess? Like, can you help me? So, guys, let me see anything else. So I think that's all for now when I think about this fragrance. I was looking for the perfumer and I could not find the perfumer of this fragrance, guys. I say get your nose on it. Peek around now. It's probably out in stores. You probably can see it. I know I've looked on some websites. They talked about this fragrance having a little bergamot in it, having a little mandarin in it. And I wouldn't be surprised. I know it's some woody notes there. Definitely spices. Listen, go ahead and hit the like button if this video was beneficial for you. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button if you're thinking, oh, yes, I need to be here for What's New Wednesdays because I need to know what's out there on the market for me. And then, guys, drop me a comment. Let me know, have you smelled this fragrance? When you heard about this fragrance, if you already knew about it, what were you expecting? What's your expectations of this fragrance? Where did you want this fragrance to transport you to so that you have it in your mind? So when you kind of smell it, we can have a conversation about whether or not, did you smell the spices? Did you smell the incense? Was you tricked in the beginning by the beautiful florals? And then in the middle, you're like, oh, your sister real earthy girl, honey. She is well, honey, well versed. This is this type of fragrance. It's well traveled. Like, I just can't wait for you to get your nose on it, guys. But so that's all for now. I hope this was helpful to you. I'll see you in the next video. Bye now. Let's connect on Instagram at It's Perfectly Peachy.